Good morning, guys. How y'all doing?
Good. How you doing?
Just good. That's it? I'm doing great. What do you normally do in class?
Play, work.
Do work? Well, now you don't do work. You just get someone to talk to you and show you some cool things.
Yeah, this is the best class ever.
Awesome. Well, as Miss Rudy said, my name's Craig Maddox. Mrs. Rudy is my sister. I'm the younger brother. Let's just get that clear. I'm the youngest one out of the group. But I was in the Army for 8 years as an officer. I got out of the Army in 2008 as a captain and graduated from West Point in 2000. That's where I went to college and played baseball and got my education. Right out in 2000, right after graduation, I went to flight school down at Fort Rucker, in Fort Rucker, Alabama. Anyone ever been down to Fort Rucker? Really? Awesome. Enterprise, Daleville, Dothan's in that area. It's probably, what, 3.5 hours away? That's where I was for 2 years, and I learned to fly a helicopter for the Army. Never had flown before, and went down there and spent 2 years, day in and day out, learning book work, learning how to fly, learning about aeromed, learning about aerodynamics, learning about missiles and rockets and guns and all that good stuff. Very, very tough school. It's called a school, an Army school. It's very tough and very stressful, to say the least. But I'm here because I understand you're learning about Fort Rucker and its effect with the Cold War, right? Is that the teaching point today? All right, so I'm going to do my best to share just a little bit about Fort Rucker, a little bit about Army aviation, and hopefully you guys can leave here today with a little bit better understanding of how an Army post here in the state of Alabama has had an effect across the world. Sound good?
Yes, sir.
All right. Give me 1 second. Looks like it's freezing up a little bit. All right. Just so you have an idea, look at the map. This is where we're at. You can see the state of Alabama. There's the Georgia border.
Oh, I see.
You come down right here. There's the Mississippi border. All right, this is us. That's Fort Rucker. It's about 3.5 hours away, depending on how fast you drive. It's in southeast Alabama, Coffee County. So Daleville's around there. Enterprise is where I live, which is right outside. And Dothan's about 30 minutes away. All right? Sure is. All right. Who will read for me the mission? Right there.
The USAACE trains, educates, and develops Army aviation professionals and integrates in the special aviation capabilities across warfighting functions and supporting the commanders and soldiers on the ground.
So what does that really mean? The USAACE is the United States Army Aviation Center for Excellence. That's what that stands for. Basically, they train and educate and develop all of the Army pilots. They probably turn out, I would say, 200 to 250 pilots every 2 years. They go into the Army as brand new lieutenants or warrant officers, and they spend 2 years living down there, eating, sleeping, breathing, flight training. Wouldn't you want that to be, isn't that a pretty cool thing? Wouldn't you want those soldiers who are protecting you to have the best training?
Yeah.
Well, that's what they get down there. Who can read me why we have the Army Aviation Branch? Yes, ma'am.
The aviation branch is relentlessly focused on and dedicated to honoring a sacred trust with commanders and soldiers on the ground. USAACE delivers Army aviation professionals and indispensable aviation capabilities to support commanders and soldiers on the ground.
Perfect. Army Aviation, as a branch of the Army, is only about 20, maybe 30 years old. It used to be the Army Air Corps, and the Army Air Corps, part of that, blossomed into and became the Air Force. Who said they wanted to, someone told me they wanted to be in the Air Force.
Who's in?
Was he in the earlier class? Well, that's That's kind of where the Army Air Corps started, then the Air Force came out of that, and then the Army branch, the aviation branch of the Army, was birthed out of that. So, the picture on the top left, that little white and orange helicopter, that's the training helicopter. There's a flight student and the instructor. Here's a couple of officers at a formal banquet, and then there's 2 officers at their graduation. And these are the wings you receive once you graduate flight school. And they go on your uniform right here on your chest. They're silver, and people who earn them are very proud. And the Cold War. Someone read, right here, you read the first bullet. Aircraft development. Someone read the second one, right here.
Army Aviation Branch.
All right, someone read the third one for me, young lady over there. Is it TH?
-67 and OH-58.
Yep, those are helicopters. So, 3 big things came out of Fort Rucker caused by, either during or related to the Cold War. Aircraft development. Before the Cold War, you had what major war did we have before the Cold War? Or before the whole Cold War era? All right, how about after between World War II and
Cold War.
what did we have?
Korean War.
Vietnam. Vietnam was one of the largest air battles, conflicts, where the helicopter was the primary use. Y'all seen all the Vietnam movies?
Oh yeah.
You've got the Huey helicopter with the soldiers kind of hanging off the side, or they're doing medevac or anything like that. That was the Huey helicopter. Anyway, the combat operations in Vietnam was the first time that we used helicopters in such a large way. Before then, there really was not a use for them in combat. So, after Vietnam and leading up to the Cold War era, the Army developed multiple aircraft after Vietnam because they realized how important they were. So they have 4 different kind of helicopters that we'll look here at the end. You have a utility helicopter, which picks stuff up and carries people. You have a cargo helicopter, which is a huge one that you can drive vehicles onto the helicopter, inside of it, and it'll transport cargo. You have the observation helicopter, which is that one on the bottom right, which is what I flew. And then you have an attack helicopter, which is the Apache, and they're all about destroying targets. So that's why, you see where it says TH?
Yes.
That's a training helicopter, and the model number is 67. OH is a observation helicopter, and the model is 58. So that's, if you ever see helicopter nomenclature like that, then you'll know there's training helicopters, observation helicopters, attack helicopters, utility, and
Cargo helicopters.
cargo. You got it. The Army Aviation Branch, I mentioned this before. There was no Army Aviation Branch until 1983. The Army Air Corps was totally separate from the Army. But then they decided, you know what, they did such a good job in Vietnam that we want to make aviation part of the Army. So, as a branch of the Army, you have infantry, armor, which is tanks. You've got field artillery, which is cannons. You've got air defense artillery, which are missiles that shoot down airplanes. Those are just to name a few, and you have aviation. There's several more, but those are just kind of give you an idea of what we're talking about when we say a branch of the Army. Does that make sense? So aviation has been around for over 100 years, but as part of the Army, as a branch, it's only been around for about 30-so years. The TH-67, which these are the 2 helicopters I flew. I flew that. Everyone flies that at flight school. That was developed out of the Cold War. The arms race, the Army decided we need to develop more pilots. This is the aircraft we're going to use to train them. And then that aircraft, specifically the observation helicopter I flew, came out of, was developed during that arms race. Any questions on that? Awesome. I'm going to stop talking here in a second, and I'll show you a bunch of pictures and videos. All right. Again, anybody remember the name of this?
That's
TH-67. What does that look like? Looks like a pool. What do you think they're going to do?
They're going to drop you in there, slide on you.
All right.
People that ride that little boat
in that picture, they're teaching pilots in training, dunker training. They're teaching you how to survive if you crash in the water. They'll drop you down in the water, roll you over, buckled into your seat, and you have to hold your breath and quickly, without being able to see in the dark, unbuckle and get oriented and find your way out of that.
What if I die? I'm so scared.
You see those two guys on the back? Those are divers and they're instructors. They're there to make sure you don't.
What do you do they do after you come up?
They get you out. So, alright, I'm going to show you a couple of videos, right? We're just going to be able to look at them just for a second. The first one, we got one on flight school. This is a video that someone's wife took of them flying at one of the airfields. I wanted you guys just to see what it looks like. Has anyone ever driven down to the beach and seen one of those white and orange helicopters flying around? Because we would land in farms and fields and all this other stuff. So if you're ever down there in South Alabama, during the morning or afternoon, you'll normally see them flying around. I think our speakers are up.
Hey guys, you've got to see this. Hey, it's Mike, and we're at my home right now, and you're probably wondering about the...
He doesn't go to flight school. We'll just watch about a minute or two of this. It's not the best footage. This is coming in for a running landing. Normally you come in and just sit down real nice and easy. They're doing emergency procedures, and if you ever have to come in like an airplane, that's what they're doing right now. Coming in a little hot. That's practicing an emergency procedure because the helicopter shouldn't come in, slide, it should come in and just touch down. Now you see a bunch of different helicopters. That's what it looks like on a regular day. You go down, you're on the runway, you call out to the radio tower, and you go and you do your lap or your traffic pattern, you do your procedures, and you come back and land. So you just got a bunch of activity like that going over and over and over. Each day you train on something different. Takeoff for a pilot, really nice and smooth. We'll look at one more landing. Pretty cool, huh?